Hello everyone, it's Eleanor Rose. Today we're going to be talking about everything you need to know to groom your dog. There are kind of three different parts, so we're going to do this as a little mini series, if you will. The first video, we're going to talk about how to groom your dog, how to brush your dog. The second video will be about how to bathe your dog. And the third and final video will be about giving your dog a haircut if they need it, and doing things like trimming nails, cleaning ears, kind of all the little accessories for your dog. So before we get started in giving these guys a little spa day, they need to get a little bit dirtier. So we're gonna go to the dog park. Come on, Leo. We're back from the dog park, and the dogs had a wonderful time meeting new two-legged and four-legged friends, running around, chasing tennis balls, and getting very, very dirty and a little bit stinky. So we're gonna start their doggy spa day by giving them grooming. Before we start with the grooming, the brushing rather, not grooming, that's in its entirety, but the brushing part, I'm gonna go over some of the tools that I use. As kind of a disclaimer, there are lots of different tools that groomers use. It really depends on what type of coat your dog has. Dogs can have several different kinds of coats, from like Labrador retrievers or beagles that have simple short coats that are usually pretty easy to maintain, to the broken coat of my Jack Russell Terrier mix Jasper, or the curly hair that my poodle Leo has, all the way up to like German Shepherds that have double coats. Huskies, I think, have double coats. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. And there are several other breeds that have, these very unique coats, and they're just unique grooming needs. So this video is specifically about my dogs and what I use to groom them, and thrown in a couple other tidbits of information just about grooming in general. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment below, and I'll try my best to answer them for you. So first of all, every groomer needs a good slicker brush. It has these little metal pins that are pretty flexible, and sometimes they have tips on the end. This particular one does not. I don't think it's super necessary. As long as you use it correctly, it's hard to hurt the dog. And then of course they have a handle, and they come in several different sizes. So you can have ones that are real small to, kind of get like behind the ears or the feet, and you can have really large ones, especially for larger breeds. This is a medium-sized one, and it works pretty well for all of what I use it for. Something else that I really recommend is a de-shedding tool. This particular one is a Furminator, and it basically pulls out all the dead hair that wouldn't come out otherwise, or that is kind of stuck. And it does a really, really good job, especially for my Jack Russell. He happens to shed quite a bit, so we prefer to just kind of get it all out so that it doesn't end up all over our house. And it's got a really comfortable handle, and it's very nice because you can push this little button and all the hair just kind of comes out in a little glob, and you can just throw it right in the trash can. Lastly, I have a comb. I use this specifically on my poodle to just kind of comb through and check that I got all the mats out, and that there's no hair that's stuck together, there's no debris in the fur, and so that's kind of my sign. If I can get the small end of the comb, it's got a wide end and a small end. If I can get the small end of the comb all the way through him on every part, then I am ready to go ahead and move on to the next step of the grooming routine. Lastly, I use a detangling spray when I need it. This particular one also happens to smell really good, so if I'm not giving them a bath after, it can kind of make them, not stink like dogs do sometimes. And I really like it. This is another Furminator product, which I really, really like. It works really well, and it doesn't leave their hair like greasy or anything. It dries really nicely, especially for my poodle. I've tried other products on him, and his hair can get really like weird, and it's like when you leave too much conditioner in your hair, and it's just that like weird feeling. So I don't want him to have that. And him especially, he's got really sensitive skin. Poodles are known for that. So having something to detangle some of the knots and some of the mats that he occasionally gets is a really helpful thing. All right. So who wants to be first? Jasper, Leo, come here. All right, Jasper's my first. Hop up. Good boy. So to groom Jasper, all we're gonna do is I'm going to take my Furminator tool and run it all over his body and get some of his hair out if I don't shove him off my lap as I'm bending over to get my tool. And then I use this all over his, his kind of torso area, and then sparingly I'll use it kind of down his legs and on his tail. He doesn't really like it on some of the more sensitive areas, so sometimes I will go through and do what's called hand pulling, where you just take your thumb and your forefinger and you run it over. I don't have any treats, I'm sorry. Afterwards you get treats. Run it over the hair and the dead hair kind of comes out. It doesn't hurt the dog. You're not pulling hair out. You're just removing dead hair that was kind of already ready to come out anyway. And he prefers that like on his face and his tail, just because it's a little less sensitive for him that way. So let's get started with the grooming. And you always want to do this in the direction that the hair, or with the direction the hair grows, not against it, because especially this specific tool, you can already see how much hair is coming off of him. But this specific tool can really irritate them, and it can break hair if it's used the wrong way. So. Buddy, good boy. Okay. All right, so for our friend Leo, I just wanted to show you guys how before I brush him, the comb kind of stops. It's not smooth. There's, obviously this may not look like it's matted to someone who doesn't have a lot of experience with dogs, but technically by like grooming standards, it's considered, a very light matting. And then on places like his ears are not that bad, but I have to put some pressure on it. So we're gonna go ahead and give him a spritz with that detangling spray and start grooming him. And I'm gonna show you guys, I know he has a couple mats behind his ears. That's a really common place for him and other dogs with coats like him to get mats, because it's hard to get there, to reach it when you groom. So just a place to always remember is right behind their ears. So let's get our grooming spray, our detangling spray rather. And make sure we don't spray it in his eyes. Alright, so when you're grooming a poodle, the other thing is you want to make sure that you get all the way down to the skin, because if you just go like this, and you're like, oh look, I'm done, you just brush the top parts of the hair, and then you can create mats if you don't separate the fur all the way down to the skin. So And you want to start by going slow. If you just, start really raking on it, like I said, poodles have pretty sensitive skin, so, and Leo's kind of a diva about things. He doesn't really like to be groomed, probably because he had a past where he wasn't groomed, or wasn't groomed well at least, wasn't taken care of. So he's come a long way to be able to get where I can go ahead and just brush him, and not have like constant treats. But yeah, he's come a long way, but he's not to the point of loving it yet. When you get to some of the areas on the poodle that have longer hair, like Leo has, longer hair on his tail, or he's got his little pom-poms, or his head, his little afro, or his ears, you just want to be really careful about not pulling too hard. Like I have said a couple times, poodles have super sensitive skin, and also their hair is really fine, so it can break off if you try and pull on it too hard. And you just want to be careful, go slow, use that detangling spray if you need it, and it takes a long time. This whole process of just brushing him out can take up to an hour, hour and a half, depending on how bad he is and how he's feeling that day about being groomed. I can see there's lots of little twigs and burrs and things in there, as well as, the hair that's coming off of them, so. All right, so Leo is all groomed. Took a long time, but we're ready to go ahead and bathe him now. So we're gonna head on downstairs to our sink and go ahead and bathe him. Stay tuned for part 2 of this little mini series so that you can learn how to properly bathe a dog. Thanks.